Good morning, First Teachers. My name is Amelia Joan Brown, and today we're doing the fourth part in our series on emergent writing. We've already spoken about grips and grasps, and we've spoken about strengthening hand muscles, and we've spoken about getting an area that is authentic and that gives the child choice when moving on to writing. Now we're going to be moving on to the different types of shapes that a child should be able to draw or write before they move on to formal writing. So these are the shapes. They should be able to do a vertical line, a horizontal line, a circle, a bunny hop, a wave, a square or a cross, diagonals, a diagonal cross, and a triangle. Once the child is able to do that, you can move on to formal writing. Before starting formal writing, especially in an authentic way, we suggest doing some sort of hand exercise, getting ready to loosen up the muscles ready for writing. You can do this by putting different things on a wall, and a child does a mini Olympics as they walk along the wall. Things like tracing around a swirl, doing some sort of an infinity sign again on the wall. Infinity signs are really good for crossing the midline, especially if you do it with two hands at one time. The next thing you can do is on the wall you can have something like pincer ants, so that you've got little pincer grips going along. On your wall you can do elephant push-ups, going from a top finger down and up, down and up. You can do things like wiggly woo, which is the little worm walking along, and whack-a-mole, which is just tapping on different parts with the tips of the finger. You can put a whole pile of spots on, and they can tap whack-a-mole on each of the coloured, for example, yellow spots, the red spots, or the green spots, or the splats. Anything to get ready and get the fingers ready for working. Once you have started with getting the fingers ready for working, the next thing is to remember there are a few golden rules. Whenever you're going to be writing, make sure that the child has access to a writing line and that you always have a starting dot, especially when you're starting with tracing lines and stuff like that. Let the child have a place where they can start, and making sure that whatever they're writing, they have some way of self-correcting on the back. So making sure that they, for example, if they're writing on a board and they're making their shopping list, making sure that they have a copy of whatever it is, whatever letter that they are writing on the back. So when you're starting, they need to be able to obviously form circles to be able to make your letters, and being aware that we always start with lowercase. When the child gets to the sort of age of 5 and 6, they would be starting with letter names rather than phonemes, and they will then start using capital letters. Capital letters at the start of sentences, capital letters for proper nouns. But when we start teaching, we do start teaching in lowercase in our school, which is a UK curriculum school. So being aware of two things. Number one, if any letter has a circle, you're going to be starting on the top, and you always move in an anti-clockwise position. So if that is an R, you're going to be moving in an anti-clockwise position. The whole point is trying to make sure that the letter touches the bottom of the circle. So if a child starts at the top and they do it with a big gap, trying to get the child to touch the bottom of the letter onto the writing line. Second of all, making sure that children realize that any sort of writing that has a letter has what we call stickiness. So if, for example, they are writing the letter A and they start and they touch the bottom line and they go up and down, the pen doesn't come off the letter until they have finished the letter. This is true for all letters except for a few. Number one is obviously the letter F. So if a child is writing the letter F, it has a time when the pen lifts off the pad or the page or the writing board, and they have to make a cross. The same is for the letter J. So if the child is writing the letter J, it has a dot. The letter I has a dot. The letter T has a cross, so the child will lift up the pen in the middle before they get to the cross. And the letter X has also got a time where you lift the pen. Other than that, all other letters are sticky letters and the pen doesn't come off until the end of the letter. It's very important that the child knows letter formation, because especially when they're writing in the beginning, before they get on to cursive writing, if a child has learned the wrong formation, to try and change from printing to cursive is very difficult, because to break the habit of writing it in a different formation is going to be difficult.